Hey everyone out there in quarantine land, Chris here. I'm just responding to a request that people had to show you how to make homemade bread. It's a very simple, no-knead recipe, doesn't take a lot of ingredients, doesn't take a lot of your time, and it certainly doesn't make a mess. So that's what makes it easy. So I'll just show you kind of the finished product here. This is a honey white, and you'll kind of see why I call it that here in a little bit, but it smells great. This one just came out of the oven today. It's got a nice hollow knock to it. That's kind of what you want to hear, just so you know that your bread is done on the inside. And it's really good. Some of my family's favorites. So I'm going to show you how to make it. First, we're going to go through the tools that you need. What you need, first of all, is a bowl, okay? I prefer plastic just because it doesn't get as cold. A small bowl, you're going to use this to proof your yeast in. You don't really have to proof it, but there's a reason why I do it. This is a modified recipe from something I saw online, so get yourself a small bowl. A measuring cup that measures in ounces, okay? Most of them do. Just get one that measures in ounces. A measuring cup for your dry ingredients. And then I just have a little measuring spoon here that I use for some of the smaller ingredients, okay? Oh, and then the other thing you're gonna want is a wooden spoon, plastic spoon, metal spoon, whatever the case may be, that has a stiff handle to it, okay? And you don't want anything covered with like a rubberized coating or something like that. It should just be raw wood, raw metal, you know, raw plastic, okay? Nothing that has like a grippy coating to it. What I'm gonna use is this fork. It's not ideal, but it's what I have, and it works pretty well. So you'll kind of see why we need that in a little bit. In terms of your dry ingredients, you're going to need bread flour. You can use all-purpose flour. Bread flour just has more gluten in it, so it just makes it to where everything, the bread is just more stable, okay? Just your standard Morton table salt. Now, I have this. This is important, okay? Yeast, you should get instant yeast, not active dry yeast, or this will not look the way that you want it to. I found this at Kroger just a couple days ago after I had ordered this online because it's hard to find right now. That being said, I've got a ton of friggin' bread yeast, okay? If you need some, let me know. I could give you a copious amount of it that will last you for a very long time, okay? So if you can't find this, let me know. Bread flour is a little bit hard to find right now too. All-purpose flour may be what you can use. Lastly, I use honey. Try to use local honey or something that is a little bit more expensive than your Kroger honey or anything like that, because a lot of times that is honey cut with a little bit of high fructose corn syrup. You don't want that. I get raw honey, so it's going to have a lot of sugar content in it, and it works really well. So, okay, so those are your ingredients. Oh, one other thing you do need, and well, it's not required that you have this, but it's good to have, is a Dutch oven. I use a Dutch oven. It's cast iron. You can get them online for decently cheap, but if you don't have a cast iron Dutch oven like this, what you can use is you can take two bread pans and put them on top of each other and use like binder clips in order to clip it closed, okay? But you have to have some kind of covered oven-safe baking vessel, okay? But other than that, why don't we go ahead and take a look at how I put this all together, and we'll make some bread. So stay tuned. All right, so we're gonna start with our wet ingredients. Now what you want is you want 12 ounces of tap water, okay? Actually, I prefer you use filtered water if you can, because it doesn't have the chlorine in it, so it's not going to be as harsh on the yeast. You want it as filtered as possible, okay? Temperature doesn't really matter. I like to use warm if I can, but if it's not warm, it's not gonna make a huge difference, okay? So what I'll do is I'll take my small bowl here, and I'll take a little bit of that warm water, and I'll pour it in here, okay? What I'll do is I'll grab my yeast here, and I'm gonna get about a quarter tablespoon, or a quarter teaspoon, I should say. So none of this stuff really needs to be super exact, okay? Don't worry about it being too much, too little, whatever the case may be. The only thing that really is important is the ratio to wet and dry, okay? I'll take my honey. This stuff is pretty crystallized because it is raw. And I'll put a little dollop of honey in there, okay? Now, you don't have to use honey. I use it for two reasons. Number one, it's going to feed the yeast a little bit and let it kind of puff up. And I find it just puffs a little bit more when it's got honey in it. And honey is also a natural preservative. So I like to take that, put that in there, set it aside, okay? And we're gonna let that proof while we do everything else. Take your measuring cup. I just kind of shake it off. This is a half cup. I'm gonna put 3 cups in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so that's 3 whole cups of bread flour. Set that aside. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put in my salt. So get your salt here. This is gonna be about 1.5 teaspoons. Okay, so pour that over there. I always kind of pour it over the bowl just in case I lose any. It ends up in the dough. And there's that right there. Kind of take my fork that I was talking about earlier with that stiff handle, and I just use that and kind of try to just incorporate the salt throughout the bowl. Sorry, I don't have the best lighting in here, but that's okay. So I've got that all in there. Now what I'll do is I'll kind of shake all of that flour to one side. I'm gonna take my my yeast mixture, pour that in the side, like this. Pour that all in one side. So I got pretty much all my dry stuff here, my wet stuff here. So I'm going to just go ahead with the fork and just start incorporating it a little bit, kind of scraping the sides as I go, pulling it in, and it will start to kind of shag up. When it starts to shag up, I'm going to switch ends, and I'm going to start using kind of this stiff handle here. So kind of pinch some of that dough off here. So this is no knead, so you're not going to have to like flour a surface or anything like that and get this all messy. But what I like to do is I kind of just use the end of a stiff handle as like a dough hook. So I'll kind of put it in there and mix it up. Try to push it towards those dry ingredients that are in there. Flip it over. And you'll start to notice as it hydrates that it'll start to kind of like stick to the side of the bowl. That's what you want. But you don't have to go nuts. And there's the little one coming in here with a bra on his friggin' head. That's, of course, my family. All right. So you kind of notice that like the bowl doesn't have a ton of dry stuff just sitting in it. It just kind of incorporates as it goes. And then I just kind of pull it up and push it into itself. Pull it up, push it into itself. And this is really what you want. Make sure all that dry stuff's in there. Okay, so it's starting to kind of stick to the side of the bowl, as you can maybe see here. That's what you want. Now you know your dough's hydrated. Very simple to do. Now all you're gonna do is cover this in plastic wrap. I like to use press and seal. And then take a couple tea towels and put that over it, wrap it tight, and put it in somewhere warm, okay? You can leave this to, I mean, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon right now. I'm gonna wrap this up and I'm gonna leave it in a warm place until tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning I'll have that done. I'll be able to start baking it, so it'll be done and cooled down by lunch. So only took a few minutes to get that done once you kind of have a hang of this recipe, it's something you don't even have to think about. I would have been done with this 5 minutes ago if I wasn't talking to you guys about it. So very simple and clean. So I'm gonna go wrap this up and we'll see how it looks tomorrow morning. We'll see you then.